Hey everybody, it's Meredith. I am going to tell you a little bit more detail about some of the changes in the goals that are coming up. In this video, I'm going to highlight Plan for Success and some of the overall changes that were made. So in all four of the goals, Plan for Success, Consider the Environment, Explore Writing, and Experience Art, the curriculum team has made the following changes throughout. So they've added instructions to the resources to help students understand the relevance of the content found within that resource. So what does that mean? So here's Plan for Success the way it is right. And we look at one of the resources for I Hear You. So here we have Giving Good Verbal Instructions. In the new version, here's the Giving Clear Verbal Directions resource, and underneath it it's going to say, read these examples and exercises to learn how to structure instructions effectively. So there's some context given for why the students should click on this resource. So next, projects with written deliverables will now include the following criterion. Writing is clear with no major errors. So for example, if we look at the old version of Myself as a Learner. So this is an essay, and the rubric criterion are describe 3 distinct learning experiences, reflect on significant learning experiences. There's nothing here that talks about clear writing in the old version. In the new version, these are the rubric criterion. So here are the original 2, describes 3 distinct learning experiences, reflects on the significance of each learning experience. Writing is clear with no major errors. So they will have to write clear sentences and clear paragraphs as part of their criterion. Finally, all projects will now have the following criterion for citations. Any sources of information are cited using a clear standard style with no major errors. They're going to direct people to this resource, and they're going to try to make it consistent that this is the resource that they go to. They can choose APA, they can choose MLA, Chicago, this other one. They can do whichever one they want, but this is the consistent resource they're going to try to add to all of the projects going forward, but for now to the 4 that were improved. So those are the overall changes. So you can see this, again, these are the Myself as a Learner new rubric criterion. So any sources of information are cited using a standard style with no major errors. Now to look at some of the differences between the old version and the new version of I Hear You. The major difference is that students have more directions here. This is the new version. And as you can see in these directions, the students have to create a set of original instructions. This is to prevent the students just finding something from WikiHow and reading it. So they have to create their own original instructions, create an audio recording giving the verbal instructions. There also is a little bit more context here. They should go on the learning community to connect with other students, and that the recording tool will appear after you schedule the project. Some people were unsure of where the recording tool was. Again, the resources now have a little context about why they should click on them. They've added resources for how to join the CFA learning community, for finding teammates, and for citing. They've also added some rubric criterion about giving meaningful feedback. Also added rubric criterion about the instructions being clear, appropriately paced, and easy to understand. And then again, the writing is clear with no major errors. Any sources are cited. So just to quickly take a look at the old version. Here's the old version of I Hear You. So the directions, they have less detail. So as you can see here, the directions have less detail in the old version. Here it's much more clearly spelled out. Again, there's going to be more context here for giving good verbal instructions, and this is the end of the resources, so there'll be several more resources added here and more rubric criterion on the new one. Some of the major changes here in Myself as a Learner. The directions are a little bit more detailed. There's now a worksheet that helps the students really think about what the 3 separate learning activities are. So here they pick 3 different things they learned, and then they describe the learning experience. There's a little bit more about how this is going to fit in with CFA. There was no worksheet before. They've added reflects on what each learning process showed about them as a learner, and then the writing is clear with no major errors in the citation rubric. Is no option for a YouTube recording. Those students are encouraged to include pictures in their essay if they want to. There's no longer the YouTube video option. For what used to be called scavenger hunt, the major change here is the name. It's no longer going to be called scavenger hunt, and there's a little bit more about why this is relevant to CFA. So here, instead of it saying it's time for a scavenger hunt, it says it's time to scour the internet for information. In the directions, as a student in an online program, you will need to be proficient in planning for project completion, making use of resources, including people that could help you, and using a variety of internet search tools. It makes it more relevant that this is a skill that they're going to be using in the program. The organizer has more formatting and directions. So this is the new formatted worksheet. There's more, if we look at the old one, there's more detail about how to plan and estimates for when they're going to actually complete the project, and more context for getting help. And then at the very end, there's some more context about reflections after the hunt. So this is the new one that I'm paging down with here. The new project now has more, again, context about why they should click on the resources. And finally, more rubric criterion. So previously there were 3 here. There are still the same rubric criterion here, and at the end they've added the writing is clear with no major errors, worksheet is filled completely and accurately, and any sources are cited. So those are the differences in Plan for Success. Okay, so for the purple path, past, present, and future Plan for Success, the changes are very, very similar to the blue path. The directions are spelled out, so this is the new one. Everything is formatted and more detail is given in the directions. And there's more clarity about having everything in the directions and then also having the worksheets be a little bit more clear. So I'll show you the differences between the 2 worksheets. So on the right we have the old worksheet, and on the left we have the new worksheet. So the formatting is a little bit different. On the new worksheet, in addition to the planning part, there is the myself as a learner prompts for the students. On the previous version, the search was included on this form. There's a separate worksheet now for the search. So the equivalent of is now Search the Web, that has a separate, it's called the future worksheet. So this is another worksheet for the future, which is the search part. So previously, the planning worksheet had planning times and then the search on it. Now that worksheet has the planning resources and then the autobiography of a learner, and then a separate worksheet has the search on it. As with Blue Path goals, there's more explanation about what each resource is and why students should click on it, and also several more resources have been added. And then the rubric items that we mentioned before, these are mostly the same up here, and then they've added more here. And that's it.